Hello and welcome to Rolling with Reviews. I'm Will, and with me as always is the cute carrot herself,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a review of Community Garden. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right, Community Garden is played over 7 rounds in which players are aiming to collect resources in order to play garden cards. On their turn, players will place one gardener on the board to gain resources, gain garden cards, or use the tool cards. They can optionally spend resources to plant a garden card from their hand by paying the required resources. At the end of the game, the player who has scored the most points through planting garden cards and collecting harvest cards wins the game. So, Will, why did we get this?
So we were looking through the math trade trying to find more games to pick up. This was one we didn't hear anything about.
Yeah, we hadn't heard anything about it.
And in its description, it said that it played the game planting a community garden with positive player interaction.
Right. And so competitive games that have aspects where you do things that give to other players is something that we're very interested in learning from.
Yes.
So that's why we got it, because we eventually want to design our own.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we like about the game?
Well, the theme of a community garden. It's something that's still not very common out there. I've seen more and more plant-based themes cropping up, but a community garden's not quite one of them.
Right. And it sounds like a really interesting way to tackle a competitive game that yet has you working together.
Yes.
The cards that do give to the other players are pretty good.
Yeah, or when they go off, things planted, everybody gets something, everybody's happy when that thing gets planted, even if it's not their plant.
Right.
So that's fun.
Yep. And I would say the educational potential is here. I don't think it's fully realized. I'm not exactly sure what's missing, but
I think probably a few more stats about the plant, because the art on each plant, it gives you the name and it gives you a photorealistic image of each plant. So you can actually really recognize this plant versus that plant from this game by holding it up.
Yeah.
You just may need some other indicator to help you, I guess, learn or retain the knowledge that you can gain from this.
Agreed.
This game.
All right. So let's move on to what we don't like. And the sad part is it doesn't deliver on its promise to be a competitive game with positive player interaction. Mostly because it's only on some of the garden cards. It's not even on all of the garden cards.
Yeah. In fact, it seems like some of the reason why you might pay for more of one plant versus another is because, well, by paying more, you don't help the other people.
Right.
In addition, all the stuff that you do on the board either hinders or completely blocks other players. So, for example, stumps and tools, you put your guy on there and nobody can take that spot until your guy clears off at the end of the round. It's first come, first serve. As for the generating resources, it just becomes a costly endeavor the more people go on there. The first person goes on there, they get that resource. Next person goes on there has to pay a green thumb for whoever is on there. They still only get one resource.
Right, which makes it a very sluggish resource generator. And considering how many resources are needed for the garden cards, you can't win the game just by going to those basic resource generation spots.
Yeah.
But then that also means then the tools become that much more important, but there's not that many out and only one person can use each tool.
Yes. Like, for example, some of the higher value cards might take 2 of every resource, and the 4 resources that it needs, that makes 8 total resources.
Right. But you only have, like in a 2-player game, 4 meeples. So at most, if you're just going to the basic resource spots, you get 4 resources each round.
And that's provided you can actually get there, because you still might need to stop, get green thumbs, because you're blocked.
Yeah.
Very, very slow.
Right.
And considering there's only 7 rounds in the game, you spend about half the game on building one card.
Yeah, it's very unsatisfying. experience very bland.
Yes.
It's a very bland experience when you can spend a whole round just gaining 4 resources. And I do remember at least 1 or 2 rounds, that's what I did, because not all of the tool cards provide resources. They could do other interesting, don't get me wrong, I think the tool cards are the most interesting part of this.
Yeah.
But they don't always give you resources.
They might let you draw more plants.
Right.
Well, I don't need more plants because I can't even build the ones in my hand.
Exactly.
And I can't discard them to get resources
Yeah.
because that's not a thing.
And then the other thing is when you get 2 of the same color, or what was it?
All 4 different.
All 4 different.
And we're talking about the plant borders.
Colors,
so there's
yeah.
pink, red, brown, and silver.
Yes. So when you get those, you get extra points, but they're random. So there's a deck of harvest cards where the cards could be value 1, 2, or 3. So when you get a pair, you draw 1 card, and when you get all 4, you draw 3 cards. But that means that when you draw 1 for the pair, you could get a 3, and then when you draw 3 cards, you could get all 1s, so they come out to be the same points.
Yeah.
It's unsatisfying and frustrating.
It's just random.
It's just random. I've just never really seen that with set collection. Usually there's static points
Yeah.
for set collection, which just feels better. All right. That's everything we don't like about the game. Who this is for?
I would say students.
Yeah.
Because this would be a great way of teacher even handing out cards, not even using it for the game.
Yeah.
Find these plants in the conservatory that we're in, because one of the main retailers of this game is actually one of the Chicago conservatories.
Yeah, I did see a picture that the company tweeted about. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, I find this would be pretty good for novice game players just getting into the hobby, because it has a solid structure.
It does.
That's not very demanding, and it kind of can ease you into the concept of worker placement, generating resources, management, and then
yeah, because it would not be overwhelming, and I think it would also be then in that respect be good for those people who do not consider themselves gamers, but they enjoy plants or gardening. They could probably enjoy this because none of the concepts are that difficult to understand.
Yeah.
And for them, going at a slower pace could be better.
Mm-hmm. I'd also find this to be a really good game for those who are designing board games and just getting out there, taking this game and trying to imagine what would you do to improve it.
Yeah.
Because this feels like a good skeletal structure of a game that just needs a bit more development, a bit more design to turn it up to that next level, to actually deliver on all the promises that the box, claims are in here.
Exactly. So let's move on to our ratings then.
So for our ratings, we each have 1d6 worth of ratings to give. 1 is low, 6 is high. We give a number, a reason why, add them together, and see what it rolled for us. Sarah, what did Community Garden roll for you?
It rolled a 2, and that's because it does have promise. It just doesn't deliver. And for the most part, I don't enjoy the experience because it is very boring, and the most interesting aspects, which are the tool cards, are very limited in how you can use them. So I think this has potential. There is a certain audience that probably would enjoy it. Just in the state that it currently is in, I'm not part of that audience.
For me, it also got a 2. And pretty much for the same reasons. It's a game that's not broken, but I don't think it's finished.
Yeah.
It's the start and it's the seed of a good game. It just needs a few more tweaks, a little bit more loving care to actually grow it up to make it what I think they wanted it to be.
Yes.
In the first place.
Agreed.
All right. Sarah, normally I ask you a crazy funny question at this point.
Yes.
But we're going to do something a little bit different because we actually pick this game up as a way to learn. What would we do if we were going to design it differently?
Okay.
In other words, have a design discussion.
Okay. So honestly, for me, all the cards need to have positive player interaction. So that's all the garden cards, all the tool cards. Now there needs to be a range, obviously, of effects, but there needs to definitely, that part needs to be ramped up in that if you're going to have a community garden where, yes, you're competing to grow the best plants, but you are helping other people because you're planting in the same shared space, you should be sharing.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the, when I clear space for a plant, I'm not just going to do a tiny little square that's going to be for me. I'm going to clear a bit more space, which means there's a little bit more space for other people to plant.
Yes.
So those kinds of concepts would need to be baked into the tools and the garden cards.
Yeah, because when we work together, we can do more.
Exactly.
I would also look at the generation of resources. So when you put a worker out there getting one resource, that's fine. Once you start paying for resources, I think that at that point you also need to see that community thing kick in, where, okay, yes, I still pay for a resource, but now I should get resources equal to all the people that are there. So for example, if someone's already on the spot and I go there, I'll pay 1 thumb. Now there's 2 people, I get 2 resources instead of just that 1. And then the next person who goes there, yeah, they'll have to pay the 2 green thumbs to ask for help, but now all 3 of them are working together to get 3 of that resources to create a more dynamic resource generation engine.
I would even
pay for all this.
I would even go one step further with that concept. You give those thumbs to the people on that space. So that is, again, then that's their benefit for helping you get more water. They get relatively free thumbs. And if your meeple is already there, that's a discount for you because you already paved the way. You already started working on getting that resource. So you know where to pick right back up in whatever task you were doing.
Yeah.
So you could get a discount if yours is already there, because that would then encourage people. Again, it's a competitive game, so you need to give encouragement to people to help other people. Well, most people are not going to want to let anyone else get more water than them. But if they get thumbs out of it, which is a currency you need to pay for a lot of different things, then they'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to go here because then I want someone else to come after to give me a green thumb.
Yes.
I think that would be good. Engine building. I think the other thing, and we talk about this a lot, when you get to set collection games, sometimes it can be boring to just get the thing in front of you and it does nothing.
Yeah.
So again, working off the community theme, if you have cards, kind of like, I hate to point to another game, like Three Sisters, it's that synergy between plants, that how plants can help other plants. So let's say you get a card in front of you and during, let's just say the beginning of the round, it will generate a resource for every pink card that is in front of all players. So you'd look at in front of all players, okay, he has a pink, she has a pink, so now I get 2 of that resource. And you can also then vary, okay, maybe it only triggers off of the first 2 cards,
Yeah.
or it's more powerful.
It's at least this many things, then this many resources, this resource will pop.
Exactly. So you'd have to balance between, okay, as long as somebody else has a pink plant, you get 1 thing, or for every 2, or whatever it is. And that way you can scale up and down the benefit, you know, again,
and
costs
the cost,
and the points and things like that.
Yeah. And then I think briefly you mentioned this with those harvest cards, that just, it's random numbers to get thrown out so you don't know who the winner is. That doesn't really lead into any sort of player agency. We would probably just do away with them. And if you still wanted to reward people, just have static numbers.
Yeah. So if you have a pair, you get a point. If you have 1 of each, then you get 3 points. And you could do different things in there too. But yeah, the random element of those harvest cards just, it almost feels like, why am I trying? Because it could randomly go someone else's way. If you and I have really close scores before the harvest cards, then it's like, why didn't we just flip a coin?
Yeah.
To see who won and saved us the agony of trying to get through this game.
Right.
So, yep. I think that was everything we discussed.
Yes. So that will do it for us. And we've been Rolling with Reviews. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.